sustainable agricultural practice. The objective of this presentation is to manage residue in a way that protects soil productivity and maximizes the crop production. What can we do in this? Firstly, we should avoid the direct contact of the seed with the fresh residues. We can use the machines like Happy Seeder and Super Seeder that can directly drill the seed into the soil surface. Some specific varieties of wheat and rice like Boda Hidati, these are extremely powerful as a weed suppressant. Next objective, to find the difference between fresh crop residue and a dry crop residue. Fresh crop residue generally stimulate the weed production. Or this also has a demerit that it can act as an inoculum for some viruses and fungi. Because these residues can be infected. But if these residues are dry, it promotes the soil fertility and also enhances the nutritional value of the soil. The third objective, to recycle the agricultural residue into the soil that enhances the soil health and overall soil plant growth. In this case, we can use no-till effect or mulching process in which the soil is covered with a layer of crop residue that prevents soil erosion and also retains the water availability and moisture content of the soil. What are the ecosystem services that are crop residue? Basically the males. Here, the crops produces certain chemicals that are called allelochemicals. These are secondary metabolites. It can have stimulatory as well as inhibitory effect on the plant. So some crop residues such as barnyard grass and duck salad are inhibited by the use of rice residue. Another, it can act as a biological gold because it has plenty of nutrients in it. If these residues shield the soil, as I have already told you about the process of mulching, we are covering the soil with a layer of residue. What happens that the evaporation rate is decreased. It prevents erosion. This is soil erosion. What happens again in the mulching process? The direct hitting of the raindrops are prevented. Water holding capacity also increases because as the decomposition progresses, it acts as a glue and it holds the soil and the nutrients together. Support for good microorganisms like bacteria and fungi that proceeds with the decomposition of the residue. Risk of improper management. What are the risks if these residues are not managed properly? Before we move into this, we have to keep in mind that quantity, type, and duration of decomposition are very important and they should not be ignored by one. Some specific rice variety like Hichinangi can stimulate weed growth if used in low concentration. Then again, if fresh residues are used, then this can inhibit the growth of plant by around 20%. Fresh residues can also make the roots vulnerable to infection. Burning of crop residue, as this is one of the most easier thing to get rid of. So burning of crop residue reduces the soil organic carbon and it also releases greenhouse gases, black carbon and soot into the atmosphere. These residues can also provide site for insects to lay eggs. It can also cause autotoxicity that because the fresh residues releases allelochemicals that can have inhibitory effect on the soil. If we utilize the plant residue effectively, then how this is efficiently or how this is beneficial because these reduces the chemical dependency. We have to use less amount of chemical weedicides. Cost effective for weed management strategy and we are getting less weed resistant crops. No-till and proper seed Placement can maximize the benefit of residue. As I have already told, it prevents erosion and it also maintains the fertility of the soil. Residue recycling is a prerequisite for conservation of agriculture aimed at food security because some residue can even be infectious. So recycling the residue before incorporating it into the ground is also beneficial. Residues kept dry loses their toxic potential in a year or less. Conservation of agriculture is based on no plowing. Keeping the soil covered with mulch or rotating crops. Here what happens in rotating crops, some crops have high C to N ratio. These high C to N ratio, this immobilizes temporarily the nitrogen uptake by the plant. Generally, the wheat and rice plant, the cereal crops, have more C to N ratio. So if we use crop rotation with those plants that have low C to N ratio, then this can even promote the decomposition rate of cereal crops. And hence the decomposition rate can become fast and even the specific microorganisms for the seed, for the cereal plants can also get reduced. Management and future stock. How to manage these residues? There can be in situ management or ex situ management. In situ management is the on-site management and ex situ is the off-site. In situ management, we can directly add back the residue into the soil for long-term fertility. We can use the machines like Happy Seeder and Super Seeder that drills the seed into the soil surface. We can also use biodecomposers that accelerate decomposition rate. Now what are biodecomposers? Biodecomposers are generally lab-grown bacteria, fungi or certain enzymes that speeds up the rate of decomposition. Ex situ management, so production of bioenergy and biofuels through thermochemical processes. We can also make biodegradable packaging material. Using wheat straw as a substrate for mushroom cultivation. And last but not the least, we can also build up startups for residue collection and processing, as this can generate revenue for farmers as well as for the startup members. Thank you.